All right, today we are going to recreate the drawing Starry Night. This is what yours will look like kind of after we get our drawing finished, and then we'll draw it first and then we will color it. Okay, so I'm going to get my paper. Again, I'm going to draw with a Sharpie. It's probably easier for you guys to draw with a pencil, just because if you make a mistake, you can erase. Okay, so Starry Night, which is on the board if you need to see the real life picture, also my example will be up there, has a giant tree. So if you look here, we have our tree here, we have one swirl, we have two swirls, we have our village, we have our moon. So we're going to start with our tree first, then we'll draw our swirls, our moon, and then our village. Okay? All right, so we're going to start by actually using our hand to be our tree. Okay, what we're going to do is you're going to put your fingers together just like this, and you're going to place your hand down on the paper. Now, if you look, my hand is not totally on the paper like this. I've kind of brought it down just a little bit, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace around my fingers. Now, when I get to the middle part, you see right here, the tree kind of comes up tall a little bit. So I'm going to extend that up a little bit, go a little freestyle and draw that because my fingers obviously aren't that pointy, but this is just a good basis for our hand. So I'm going to start and I'm going to trace around my hand. When I get above my ring finger, I'm going to go up and down a little bit more, and then I'm going to come back around and bam, there's the tree for my Starry Night. Okay, now from our tree, we're going to draw our horizon line next. Okay, so we're going to start right here where our thumb was, and we're just going to draw a curvy line all the way to the edge of our paper, and then I'm going to come on the other side and I'm going to also draw that curvy line. Okay, so there is that piece. Now, let's go ahead and draw our moon. Our moon is going to be up here in the top right corner of our paper. And that's simply all we're going to do is we're going to draw a letter C, just like that. And then we're going to draw another letter C, but we're going to make it a little bit bigger. So we're making kind of like a crescent moon, okay? And then around that, we're going to just draw two circles. Now, you don't want to make these super big, but you don't want to make them super small as well. These are the rings that are glowing around the moon, okay? So that's glowing around it. Okay, so there is that part right there. I'm going to zoom out a little bit because I'm actually going to rotate my paper to do the next part. Okay, our next step is going to be our swirls. Okay, so we have two giant swirls on our paper. And here's how we're going to do it. You're going to rotate it so that your paper is taller than it is wide. Okay, and then you're going to pick a point and you're just going to put a dot. Okay, this dot right here is where your swirls will touch. Okay, I'll say that again. That's where your swirls are going to touch. This point, we'll do a side-by-side comparison. This point is going to be right there where our swirls touch. Okay, so how are we going to make these swirls? It's actually really easy. We're just going to write the letter S a bunch of times. So I'm going to start at my point. I'm going to write the letter S, but I'm going to bring this S down to my tree. I'm going to continue my line, pick up my pencil, continue around it, and then I'm going to come back like that. So there's one letter S. That's pretty easy. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and expand this swirl by creating 3 more letter S's, and that's easy. We start at the same point, and we just kind of trace the same line that we drew, and I kind of made that thicker. That's kind of like a 3D S or a bubble letter S that we talked about when we were doing our graffiti. So I'm going to just do that again. And one more time. Okay, so that swirl is done. Now we have to make our smaller swirl. Now, this might be a little difficult for some of you just because you're going to write this letter backwards. Or if you need to start up here and bring your S around, you can do that. So what I'm going to do, you can do it either way. I'm going to start my S at this point, and I'm going to make my S backwards. Okay, so I just made my S backwards. If that's too difficult, then you can start down here and create your own letter S, okay? Actually extend that down a little bit. Now, I'm going to do the same thing with this S that I did with my S here. So I'm just going to start and I'm going to come around. I'm going to do it one more time. So there's 2. We need 1 more. We need 3. So I'm actually going to come around on the top and do it there. So I have my swirl, just like that. Okay? Now, I'm going to compare side by side just so that you guys kind of see. We have my S's. You guys see that? Okay? And again, it'll look a little different once it's all colored. Okay? But we've got the basic swirls done. So now we can rotate our paper back to the way it needs to be. I can bring it in a little closer now so that you guys can see it a little bit better. Okay? Now, what we're going to do next is draw our actual little stars. And that's simple. All you have to do, and you can put them in wherever you want, we're just going to draw little circles all around our swirls, all around our page. Now, you don't want more than, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You don't want more than 7 or, I'm going to put one right here too. So you don't want more than 7 or 8 because you don't want little dots all around, because we're actually, when we color it, we're going to add a little bit of dimension. We're actually going to make the stars glow a little bit, and we'll talk about how we're going to do that. Okay. Now let's do our village down here. Okay. We have our village right here. We have our church, and then we have, I put 10 houses down here, and you are too. Now, to make these houses look a little bit more realistic in 3D, it's a very simple method. Okay? You just have to follow along. So here is our first. Let's start with the church. We're going to put the church right here next to the tree. So basically, all you have to do is draw a square. Okay? You're going to draw a triangle on top of that. Okay? That's super easy. Now, we're going to make it 3D, so I'm just going to extend some lines back and then connect them. Now, because this one is the church, I'm going to put a steeple on top of it. Okay? Now, over here, you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to draw some squares. Let's draw 10 squares. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay? Now, on top of those, all you have to do is draw like the rooftop. Okay? So you're just going to make the triangle shape on the top. And just like we did with the church, we're going to make them go back. But we're going to make them go back to the right instead of the left. So I'm just going to draw 3 little lines, and I'm going to connect them. Okay, now the only other thing that we need to do is just to draw some little swirls inside our tree here to make it look like it's a little bit more full. And we'll actually do that a little bit more when we actually color it in. Okay, so that is what that looks like. I'm going to go grab some crayons. Okay, now coloring Starry Night is where it starts to get a little bit interesting. I'm going to use crayons because it's a little bit easier. And for me, it's easier. There will be a bunch of crayons on the counter that you guys can use. I'm actually going to start with my moon. So if you look in the original Starry Night, there's a lot of yellow, a lot of oranges, white, stuff like that. Okay, we're going to start with our stars around, and we'll move from there. Okay, so to do the stars, and I'll zoom in really close. Perfect. Okay, so for one of the stars, what we're going to do is you're going to take your crayon and you're just going to draw little dotted lines around the crayon, or around the circle, around the star, okay? I see that the yellow is a little hard to see, so I'll also do the orange. Now, Van Gogh did not use smooth strokes. He painted with dots, just like this. He used short little strokes to complete his artwork. Okay, so I'll move down here and we'll do another one just so that you can see that. Okay, so I'm going to continue. I'm going to do maybe 2 rows of little dashes, and then I will go back and do little dashes with the orange as well. Now you can also color these in with whatever color you want. So we kind of get the idea of how our stars are going to be. Now, that's what you're going to do for all of your stars, okay? And also your moon. Your moon will be the same way. You'll just paint with dashes, or color, rather, with dashes. I know that's a little, it's tedious. It does get a little, it's time consuming. But I promise if you take your time and you do this like this, the effect that it ends up with is really cool, okay? And you can see my example like that. So I'm just going to put my little dashes here. I'm going to kind of go along the flow line, which would be the circle. Okay, and I'll use the orange because it makes it stand out a little bit better. And we'll just start off coloring this way, and when you get more into the coloring, if you need to fill in, go back and fill in white spaces, you definitely can. This is just for the video purposes of me coloring this one in right now. Okay? Now, for the sky, I want you to pick 3 different blues. Okay? I have 3 different blues here. And you're going to start with one blue, and you're going to cover the entire area. Okay? And then you're going to take another blue, and you're going to cover the entire area. Then you're going to take your 3rd blue, and you're going to cover the entire area. Now, this is going to take a little while, but I promise it will end up looking really, really cool. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and bring out this example, the one that I finished, and you can see that I actually have 3 different blues in here. And you can see them. See, there's the regular blue, there's a green blue, and then there's a lighter blue in the background. And they all kind of blend together, and it makes this really cool harmony with the colors, even though we're not officially blending them. Okay, you can see that I've done the same thing with my grass. I've done a darker green, I did a dark green and a light green, and I got the same effect here. Now with the houses are a little easier to do. You can just pick some random colors. I'll make this one over here. I'll make this one right here purple. All you have to do is just draw little lines on the houses, okay? Which is kind of like just coloring it in, but if you use the lines, you can see that there's actually a little bit of, you can still see some white in there, and it kind of makes it look like it's still that same method of just coloring with dashes. So I'll actually make another one. I'll make this one right here orange. So I just draw my little lines down like that. Draw my lines down, draw my lines down like that. Okay? Now let me go ahead and get started on a little bit of the sky. I'll start up here to show you kind of how I'm going to do it. Now remember that you need to have all of your stars completed first. Do all of your stars and your moon first, and then you can worry about the sky. If you want to do the stars and the swirls first, that's fine, and then you can worry about your sky. So I have my, wrong blue. I have my 3 blues here, and I'm going to start with this one. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw little dashes, just randomly placed dashes all over the background of my paper. Okay, there's really no rhyme or reason to it. If you want to turn your paper so that it's a little easier to draw the dashes, that's kind of what I did on my example, because it did make it go a little bit faster. you can definitely do that. So you're just going to draw the little dashes. Now remember that you don't want them on top of each other. You do want them to have some space in between them. So once you get all of that blue, and I actually forgot to do that star, your star will be done and you'll have the gold around it. Then I'm going to do my next color, and same thing. If you draw over top of those lines, it's okay, because it still creates that cool effect where you get to have the colors layered on top of one another. And so then after you do that color, then you can take your third one and you can do it again. Okay, so I'm actually going to zoom in really close to that. And you can see that you can see all three colors, but you also see them separately. So it turns out really cool. So after you get all of that done, your artwork will be complete. It will end up looking like this.